Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It's Friday, May 28th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Friday NHL card, which is just one game, which means we're coming to the end of the first round when there's only one game on tap. But it is a dandy, and it's the kind of game everybody gets excited for. Every hockey fan, every sports fan knows there's no such thing like a Game 7, and we're going to see that tonight. The Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights Game 7. Winner moves on to the West Division Final Series to take on the Colorado Avalanche in the next round. And we will have one of those teams move forward tonight. We'll tee up that game. We'll give you sides, totals. I'll even mention a few props that I like in that game. Since it's the only game, it's a standalone game, we'll give you a couple props on the game as well. Tonight. But before we do that, we'll look back at last night. We'll start with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. And like I said on Twitter, as well as my other social media platforms, come on, this is the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. You know they're not going to do anything easily. That's just the way it is with them. A chance to win their first playoff series in 17 years at home in Game 5, wrap it up, and they basically have probably the worst start they've had of this entire series. 3-0. Early deficit by the early part of the second period, 2-0 after the first. Montreal, give them credit. They finally figured it out. It took them till Game 5, but let's throw pucks and bodies toward the net as much as possible. And it definitely benefited Montreal in terms of their offense, or boosting their offense, which had been non-existent through the first 4 games of the series. It was embarrassing, to be honest, that the Canadiens have 4 goals in 4 games. And William Nylander alone for the Leafs has that same number of goals in those 4 games. And the Habs last night get 4 goals just in Game 5, matching their output from Games 1 through 4 collectively. So give them credit. They had to get something going offensively. They did that last night, and they were able to win 4-3. They blew a 3-0 lead, and the Leafs tied it. And even with the Leafs having momentum going into overtime, the Leafs still just can't close the door on a playoff series, which had been a recurring theme the last few years. A turnover at the blue line by Galchenyuk results in a 2-on-0 rush for the Habs, finished off by Nick Suzuki, and the Habs win 4-3 in overtime and force a Game 6 back in Montreal Saturday night, back in a building that for the first time in a North Division Canadian city will have fans in attendance. Not a lot, 2,500. It's not a lot compared to what other buildings have allowed in terms of capacity, but it's something. And it's going to give, obviously, the Canadiens a little bit enthusiasm and energy, having even just 2,500 in attendance for Game 6 Saturday night. And now we've got ourselves a little bit of a series on our hands here. And if you're the Leafs, don't let this go any further. Saturday night, Game 6, they have won both games in Montreal in this series. Find a way to end it, because I'm saying this right now, and Leaf fans, you're lying to yourself if you don't agree with me here. If this somehow gets back to a Game 7 Monday night in Toronto, you damn well know the pressure is on your shoulders. The pressure is on you in Game 7 to get the job done. It ain't on the team that won last night, the Montreal Canadiens. All the pressure and expectations of this being the best Leaf team to make a deep Stanley Cup playoff run is this year. That's the expectations, and a pressure of the team to meet those expectations, or at least give themselves a chance to meet those expectations in a Game 7 win, would be immense pressure. So if you're the Leafs, don't wait around. You want to finish this off Saturday night if you can, but now you've breathed some life into the Habs. They've got some offensive confidence now going into Game 6. Carey Price continues to play extremely well. It ain't going to be easy to finish off the Montreal Canadiens, and we did see the Montreal Canadiens prove that last night in the Game 5 overtime win. Alex, what was your thoughts on Leafs Habs last night?
Yeah, I mean, I thought when, once we saw Toronto start to make that comeback, I thought for sure they were going to, be able to wrap up things and finally wrap this series up, because they know, like I said, the pressure's already building on them. But now for them to lose in OT, like you said, now have to go back to Montreal, play in front of fans. And some of the quotes that I was reading on Twitter from players, they're saying, we got to treat this like Game 7. This is our must-win game right now. And that says a lot, because, like you said, if they do end up losing and going back home for Game 7, if they're putting that much energy into this Game 6 and they can't find a way to win, that might be the the nail in their coffin as far as, another series blown in that game 7. So they're taking it seriously. They know, obviously they're hearing the rumblings every single day about the drought, and so they want to end this thing. And I think we're going to see a great effort from both teams, just like we did in this last game. Like I said, Toronto started off slow. Montreal, finally figured out a way to get some offense generated. But Toronto, I mean, they're still a better team. They were able to get that comeback and force overtime. Now they got to kind of flip the script and be the team to start off fast and early in that game 6.
Yeah, definitely a critical game. If you ask me, like, we'll get into the game more tomorrow on Saturday's show, but if you ask me, I think the Leafs are going to end the series tomorrow night. But again, am I willing to really go nuts with a bet on that? Probably not, but definitely it's important for the Leafs to try to finish it in game 6. The other series did come to an end last night in game 6. The Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators. Man, was I getting sick of this Nashville team, this rope-a-dope style, this sit back, let Carolina come at us, capitalize on the few chances we get. Although I will say this, to be honest with you, last night, Nashville, for the first time, I think, had the better of the play in one game. And I think you could make a legit case that Carolina had the better of the play in the first 5 games of this series. I don't think you can make that argument last night. I think Nashville actually carried the play more often than not toward Carolina, especially in the first 2 periods. I thought Nashville actually was the slightly better team in the first 2 periods of that game. However, Carolina most definitely flipped the script in the 3rd period. It was the UC Soros show, and they were really coming after Nashville, trailing that game 3-2 in the 3rd period. And the puck was in the Nashville zone pretty much the entire period. And UC Soros made a couple of highlight reel outstanding saves. Eventually, the dam burst. What a great tying goal by the Carolina, which really saved my neck, to be honest with you. Think about it. I had the over 5.5 in the game. So that 3-3 goal cashed that. The 3-3 goal ensured that my go out on a limb and lay minus 230 with Carolina draw double chance would have a very good chance to get home and get to the win column. And obviously all it needed to do was get to overtime, which it did. So that goal was huge for that. And of course, Carolina minus 1.5 games in the series to keep that afloat. I needed that tying goal. So it was a huge goal. That's about as excited as I've been in this first round to see a goal go in. When Dougie Hamilton scored that 3-3 goal last night, great play off the faceoff. You talk about good coaching by Brendan Moore. That was a set play off the faceoff. Activate Hamilton from the blue line, get him going to the net, trust in Aho to win the draw, get Hamilton to the net. They're not going to expect it. Nobody's there covering him, and it's a tap-in goal for the 3-3 goal. Outstanding play design. You don't often think of play designs in the NHL, Alex. You think of it in the NBA. You think of it in NFL, football playbook, basketball playbook, call plays out of timeouts in the NBA, for example. You don't normally think of that in the NHL as much, but set face-off play was clearly on display there for Carolina with a really well-executed face-off play resulting in the Dougie Hamilton game-tying goal with a few minutes to go. And then I was getting ready for maybe a long overtime, and it was anything but long. It only took barely over a minute as Jacob Slavin gutting it out through pain and injuries throughout this entire series, arguably one of the best blue liners on this Carolina team. Seeing eye shot from the point, beats UC Soros, and the Hurricanes win in overtime. And that sealed the deal for my minus 1.5 games on Carolina, which comes in and actually made it a profitable first round with my series bets. I needed that for profitability in the first round. I had Florida lost, the 7 games for Florida, Tampa lost, but I had Boston, that won, Pittsburgh, that lost. And I was and I had Minnesota, Vegas to go 7, that won. And that's what really helped. That plus 240 number on Minnesota, Vegas to go 7 games, that cashed. And I just needed Carolina to come in. It was one of my bigger series bets, minus 1.5 games, and it got there. So because of that, a profitable result with the series bets, thankfully last night, but that close. See how thin the margin can be? That close maybe to being a down money with the series bets. But thankfully, Carolina comes through. Props to Nashville. For as much as I've ridiculed this team this season, scrappy, pesky, feisty as all get out. And I'll even give some tip of the cap here to Johansson and Duchesne and some of these Previously, I've called them stiffs. I've called them invisible men on the ice. You can't find them with a telescope, these guys. Duchesne scored a couple of big goals. Johansson had a goal last night. So they played better. Let's give them some credit for that. But Carolina just too much. They were still the better team for the majority of the series, and now they will advance to the second round and set up what should be one hell of a Central Division final series. Them and the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending Stanley Cup champions. This is a damn good series on paper. I'm looking forward to seeing it play out. Alex, thoughts and takeaways from Carolina advancing?
Yeah, like you said, Nashville put up a hell of an effort considering how good Carolina's been playing lately. And like I said, UC Saros in that third period was absolutely sensational. That could have been a 6-2 or 7-2 Carolina route if he wasn't playing even half as well as he was in that third period. Like I said, they just, Hurricanes just attacking and dominating in the opposing zone throughout that whole time. But this is a tough, gritty series, and maybe this is a good thing for Carolina. If as opposed to getting a 4-game sweep in the spot, they're just battle tested enough. Hopefully, they're not too fatigued to where now they can, prepare for a Tampa Bay offense that is going to be much more potent than what they saw from Nashville. This is kind of, like I said, they sharpened the sword a little bit now to get ready for what's going to be, I think, possibly the best series of this whole postseason. Potentially, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But like I said, I had the Carolina series. I had it under 5.5 games. That missed, but I did tell you and had a piece of that -1.5, which cashed. And great luck, tailing this first period over, as we were still getting plus money even last night, cashing those. So kind of sad to see this matchup end from that aspect, but definitely looking forward to the Canes and the Lightning in round 2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that carries over, because we saw a lot of early goals in the Tampa, Florida series as well. We saw a lot of early goals, first period overs in the Nashville, Carolina series. Now with Carolina, Tampa Bay meeting up, are we going to see more first period overs? Something to keep an eye on. Maybe something you could capitalize on as that series begins on Sunday, by the way. They have confirmed game 1 of that series. Tomorrow, the Saturday show, Alex will be along with me for that. We will look at the second round series that are set in stone. Obviously, we can't preview the North Division final because we're waiting on Toronto, Montreal to finish. But tomorrow we'll preview Boston and the Islanders. We'll preview Carolina and Tampa Bay. And we'll also preview Vegas or Colorado against the winner of Vegas, Minnesota on tomorrow's show. Just an overall series preview with those 3 series. And of course, we'll talk Montreal, Toronto, and Boston Islanders, the 2 games specifically taking place tomorrow. Game 6 with the Leafs Habs, game 1, East Division final, Bruins Islanders tomorrow night as well. So that's coming up on tomorrow's show. But now for today's show, before we wrap it up, we're breaking down game 7. It's time. Minnesota Wild, Vegas Golden Knights. It should be exciting. Can't wait to see how it plays out. We've got Vegas here in that -175, -180. A home favorite range here for game 7. The total 5.5. There's some 5s out there, and there's some 5.5. So if you like the under, get a 5.5. If you like the over, get a 5. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to get either of those looks, depending on which side of the fence you sit on when it comes to the total. I actually have a specific thought process in mind for how I'm going to strategy for how I'm going to bet this game from a total standpoint. I think it's going to start off slow. I really do. I think game 7, you're going to see early in the game, it's going to be low scoring. I wouldn't hate a first period under tonight in this game, and I think it could open up later. And certainly we'll be interested in third period over, elimination game for both teams, of course, because it's game 7, especially if one of the teams is ahead going into the third period. That's going to make that third period over look even stronger. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at low scoring early, first period under 1.5, and then looking at a live over after the first, and certainly a third period over if one of these 2 teams has the lead going into that final period. It's basically a strategy Alex has echoed a few times on the show in the past. The slow start and then bet a live over after that. I think this is that perfect game to do it, because I think early in the game, feeling out process, no one wants to make that first critical error, that first critical gaffe or turnover with the puck. I think both goalies are going to show up ready. Cam Talbot, who's been terrific in this series. I think Marc-Andre Fleury, especially early, is going to be on point, because I don't think he liked the way that ended for him in the third period. I don't think he could have done much about the goals, but still, he's a competitive player who's very critical of his own work. Marc-Andre Fleury, and he's going to say he's going to want to be better, especially early in the game. I could see that. So I'm looking under early, over live after the first period is kind of the way I'm going. From a side perspective, there's no way I'm laying $1.80 with Vegas. It's as simple as that. I mean, Minnesota's got momentum on their side. They've certainly gotten Kaprizov and Fiala going. Like, they both contributed in the Game 5 win, and they are the players that have been the key, the straw that has stirred the Minnesota Wild drink all season long for them offensively. And to see them get on the scoreboard in the win the other night, I think that is big time for the Minnesota Wild going into tonight's game. So I would look at a Caprice. I would stick from a goal scoring prop standpoint. I'd stick to the top heavy guys tonight in a game of this magnitude. Minnesota, Fiala, Kaprizov. I'm interested in goal scoring props for them. Mark Stone is a big game player for the Vegas Golden Knights. You got to think he's worth a look in terms of scoring a goal tonight as well. I'm interested in all of those. I don't know if I'm interested in a bunch more with the Golden Knights. They were trying to hope at least that they could maybe get Max Pacioretty back for Game 7 tonight. I don't think it's going to happen, to be quite honest with you, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Right now, the latest update on him is, again, a game-time decision. But I think if he was for sure going to play, he would have been ruled in by now. So I'm a little bit more on the doubtful side. They're saying game-time decision. I'm a little bit more on the doubtful side that Pacioretty's going to play tonight. And it feels like it might be a forced situation, if he does indeed play. Keep in mind, he's been out since May 1st. This is a long period of time. This has been basically a month. You're going to throw him in 12 games on the shelf with that injury. You're going to throw him in there in a Game 7. Now, they could use him. They could use his offense, but that's the balancing act that Peter DeBoer and the Vegas Golden Knights coaching staff has to go through in deciding whether or not they include Max Pacioretty in the lineup tonight for this 7th and deciding game. So that's pretty much it. Under first period is probably something I'll look at. Live over after that, and certainly a third period over, or an in-game third period over, to maybe wait a bit till the first timeout, second TV timeout of the third period, and then get in on that over at that point, get a better number at that time. Maybe take a chance that the first 10 minutes of the third period goes scoreless. And we have seen that with a couple of the games here that have been elimination games in the first round. So those are my approaches, and goal scorer props, I'm keeping it to the big guns. Fiala, Kaprizov, Stone. They're the guys I would target in this kind of game. Your best players have to be your best players. It's a cliche, but I would expect that to be the case for both of these teams. The best players stepping up. And if you're going to get goals, I think it comes from the big guns in a game of this magnitude. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Game 7, winner take all, Wild, the Golden Knights.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting because Vegas is going home, a place where they have yet to clinch a playoff series. And this is a Wild team that historically hadn't done well in Game 7s. They had Bruce Boudreau as their coach, who's arguably the worst Game 7 coach in NHL history. And now they're going up against Peter DeBoer, who's 5-0 lifetime in Game 7s throughout his career. Of course, he got that one with San Jose against Vegas. So this is going to be a really interesting game, obviously. The fact that Minnesota was able to come back the way that they did these last 2 and really 3 games, and the fact of where they started off hot early, and then kind of weathered the storm and the onslaught of shots from the Golden Knights, but still hang on to win. It shows that strength and determination that they had in the middle of the regular season. Honestly, the stretch that got them to this point. So they have to keep that mentality that we can withstand anything. Even if Vegas scores first, we can't just beat ourselves mentally and take ourselves out of the game. They got to stay and play a full 60 minutes, if not more, to try and accomplish this. I have the series price with Minnesota plus 225. So I'm not going to jump in anything pre-game. It's going to be all in-game for me, and I'm kind of looking the same thing you are. A live over some point after the first period. Definitely have the third period over. I'm seeing in one book you can get third period over pre-game minus $1.45. That's a bit steep, but I wouldn't talk anybody out of that because you may not get I know some books haven't even put up third period overs individually. You've had to play the live over and adjust it, and you may not be getting a goal and a half. You may have to end up being technically laying 2 goals with that number. So you have to kind of adjust accordingly. But this is definitely going to be a great in-game spot as far as betting goes. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll have it posted on my Twitter which plays I make in game tonight.
Yeah, Chris Otto's in our chat. He's the NHL period totals charts guru on Twitter, if you follow him, and he likes the no goal in the first 10 minutes prop in this game. And yeah, I could see that. That fits my narrative, that's for sure. That I think it's going to be a lower scoring start to this game, and then it'll open up. So that's exactly what I've got in mind. That exact strategy. Maybe no score, 1-0 first period, and then things open up a bit and jump on the live over. In this game, I would lean full game. Certainly at 5, I would lean to the full game over at that number. But I think I might wait till after that first period, see if I can get a better number with it in this one. And like I said, in terms of Minnesota, I lean Minnesota. I don't know if I'm going to bet the plus, 155, 160. Dylan Turner has been watching and paying attention, and I love that. Dylan Turner has been doing that because I mentioned the draw double chance, that I liked it on Carolina last night. And it was a little pricey last night on the Carolina Hurricanes to bet that. You could bet that with the Minnesota Wild tonight at minus 130, minus 120 to minus 130 in that range, depending on which book you're looking at. So the Minnesota Wild draw double chance, once again, which is minus 120 to minus 130. What that is if 3 out of 4 possibilities will cash that bet. A Minnesota win in any form, regulation or overtime, you win the bet. If the game goes to overtime, regardless of who wins the game, you win the bet still. That's the beauty of that draw double chance Minnesota, which is minus 120 to minus 130. The only way you lose that bet is a Vegas and regulation win. That's the only way it doesn't come through for you. Now, if you want to take that chance, I actually would in this case. I'd want that security. This has tight game feel to it. No question about that. The draw could be live, just the draw standalone by itself. You could get the draw right now here in this game as I go back to take a look at it around plus 300.
Yeah,
The draw is very much
305.
live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The draw is live in this game. But I think if you want to isolate my strongest stance in terms of the side, I'm going to be looking under early, over in game. But from a side perspective, my strongest opinion was probably liking that draw double chance at around minus 120 to minus 130 on Minnesota. I'd like to have the team with momentum in my pocket, that being Minnesota, and the fact that they could go to overtime, lose the game, lose the series, and I still cash that bet. I like that idea. I like the idea of that quite a bit, actually. So that Minnesota Wild draw, a double chance, minus 120 to minus 130 definitely is something that I'm looking at very, very much here in this Game 7 tonight. Great stuff, Alex. That is it. Like we say, a little shorter show today with just the one game. But tomorrow we'll have a good show because we're going to break down Canadiens-Leafs Game 6, as well as in the first round, as well as Islanders-Bruins Game 1. They'll get their series underway. And we'll also do like a mini playoff series, second round series preview show as well. We'll talk Bruins Islanders series in general, the Hurricanes Lightning series as a whole, and as well Colorado against either Vegas or Minnesota. We'll tee up that series as well on tomorrow's show. So join us for that. Remember, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific with our shows on the weekends. Before we get to best bets, a reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. It's a great time of year. Daily, you've got the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB. When you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you sign up for an account, you'll get deposit bonuses, weekly specials, weekly incentives, bet boosts. You'll get cash games. There's all kinds that you could get of different things you can get involved with using DraftKings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. And for all of you that are giving me compliments for the Tristan Jarry Penguins rant yesterday, I appreciate that. That was, it angered me. It angered me significantly, as you can tell. I had to get it off the chest, and we certainly didn't hold anything back. So appreciate the comments about that from yesterday's show. All right, it is best bets time for this Friday edition. Obviously, we just got the one game to choose from. Alex, if there was a best bet in this game for you, whether it's a side, a total, a first period, a prop, what do you got for us?
Yeah, actually, like a goal scoring prop tonight. I like Joel Eriksson at plus 275 to get a goal. He's got 2. He should have had 4 A couple of them were called back, and he took a little bit of a bump last game. He said he's okay, should be ready to roll. But he's been one of the catalysts offensively for this Wild team. Very underrated, great two-way player. But he's gotten his offensive game rolling throughout the season. I like him to score a goal tonight. So Eriksson at plus 275. That's my best bet tonight.
Yeah, good price. And he's obviously scored multiple goals in this series already. Joel Eriksson-Ek, Minnesota Wild, plus 275 to score a goal tonight in Game 7. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Dylan Turner in the chat. Glad he mentioned the BetCast. I did want to mention that. I was almost about to forget to mention it. We will have one, at least one next week. Date to be announced. We'll confer over the weekend, Jimmy, Alex, and I, and we'll set a date over the weekend for the BetCast next week. It'll be during the second round for sure. And looking forward to it. So we'll pick a night. It'll probably be, mid to later part of the week. Next week is probably what we're looking at. We'll make sure every series gets underway first in the second round. Then we'll schedule it. So it'll probably be expected to be like a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday next week. That's the target right now for our next BetCast. So looking forward to it. We've had 2 so far. Again, the schedule's a little bit jumbled this week, so we avoided having one this week. But no, it's been enjoyable. It's been a lot of fun. It's been nice to see faces and hear voices of our viewers and our listeners. It's been great to have that camaraderie, that sense of family, community, really. It's really a nice guys community, and you guys make it that way, tuning in each and every day on the YouTube channel, listening and downloading every day to the podcast version of the show. You guys make this show what it is. You guys keep it going, and you're the reason why we want to keep it going. So we thank you again each and every day for that. My best bet for this game, I'm going to go with that Minnesota draw double chance. Again, slim pickings. It's one game. It's minus 120 to minus 130, depending on the book you're looking at. Much better price, obviously, than last night. For 3 of 4 outcomes that could be in my favor, Minnesota to win in any form, and even a Vegas win in overtime, and I would still win that bet. The only thing we can't have happen is Vegas in regulation. I'll take that chance. Minnesota draw, double chance, minus 120, minus 130, depending on the book. That'll be my best bet for this Game 7 tonight with the Wild and the Golden Knights. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, the Ice Guys is on YouTube live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, you can download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. Check it out there, the podcast. Alex B. Smith for him. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy Game 7. We don't always have them, but enjoy them when they are here. We've got one tonight with Minnesota and Vegas. Enjoy Game 7 between the Wild and the Golden Knights tonight. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.